Hi everyone, my name is Katrina, and in today's video, I'm going to talk all about the FODMAPs. And in particular, I'm going to go over what high FODMAP foods are, why they are actually safe, and how to incorporate high FODMAP foods. Now, this is especially important if you are struggling with abdominal discomfort, nausea, diarrhea, bloating, constipation, and if you've been trying to do an elimination diet or low FODMAP diet. So high FODMAPs are very important. Now, a lot of people tend to avoid these because it can make their symptoms worse, whether that's making their bloating worse, their nausea worse, their constipation. So in today's video, I wanted to kind of dive in deeper and give some honest information and content on why a elimination diet or a low FODMAP diet is not a long-term solution if you are struggling with GI issues, whether that be constipation, diarrhea, bloating, any of those. So what is a FODMAP? A FODMAP stands for fermentable oligosaccharides, disaccharides, monosaccharides, and polyols, which are short-chain carbohydrates or sugars that the small intestine absorbs poorly. So these are sugars and basically glucose that the body does not absorb well. So as a result, when these are moderately, minimally broken down, they can produce gas or they ferment. They produce gas, they can create a lot of air in your intestines, which can increase symptoms of bloating if you are already struggling with that. So are high FODMAPs unsafe? So like I said before, if you've been struggling with bloating, nausea, constipation, you may be avoiding these high FODMAPs and sticking to a low FODMAP diet. And the thing is that high FODMAPs are not unsafe. They are actually very safe. And a lot of healthy fruits and vegetables do contain a lot of high FODMAPs. Now, high FODMAP foods are great because they act as prebiotics. So I did do another video, which I will link above in regards to prebiotics and probiotics, but the basic concept is that the probiotics is the bacteria in your gut. But in order for your probiotics to live well, they need to be fed. And the food for the probiotics is the prebiotics. So high FODMAP foods, you can think are prebiotics. And they contain a lot of important nutrients and food, again, for our healthy gut bacteria. High FODMAP foods also nourish our gut health, boost our nutrition, and provide a lot of variety in our diet. So we need to make sure that in order to have a healthy gut microbiome, we need to be eating a lot of variety of fruits and vegetables, a mix of low and high FODMAP foods. High FODMAP foods, again, can be involved in gas production in the gut and may not be tolerable if you are struggling with IBS. Now, the process of producing gas by these FODMAPs actually can draw water into the gut, create gas, can cause distension, can lead to cramps, bloating, abdominal pain, diarrhea, constipation, all of those things we don't like. So if you've been struggling with IBS and have these symptoms, it makes sense why maybe you're avoiding these high FODMAP foods so that you're not triggering your symptoms. But the thing is that a high FODMAP diet, you can't just avoid these foods because you need them long-term for your health. You need them long-term for your gut microbiome. So these are a list of high FODMAPs. So to break down what a FODMAP is, we have, let's see, fructans, oligosaccharides, disaccharides, monosaccharides, and polyols. Now, when it comes to incorporating high FODMAP foods into your diet, you want to be pretty systematic or pretty intentional with how you do this. So you don't want to just go down the list and try one of each and see how it goes. So in this slide, I'm going to go over an example of how you can incorporate high FODMAP foods into your diet. So we're going to give the example of watermelon. So watermelon is a high FODMAP food, and it contains fructans, polyols, and monosaccharides. Now that's a lot of different high FODMAPs, so we don't know which one you might be triggered to. As an example, maybe you can tolerate monosaccharides, but you can't tolerate polyols. So in order to figure out which high FODMAP food you can tolerate, you want to kind of be very intentional with which food you're trying and incorporating into your diet. So again, you don't want to pick watermelon first if you are trying to see, which high FODMAP food can I tolerate? Because watermelon is in so many different categories. Instead, you want to try a food item that is in only one category. So an example would be cauliflower. So cauliflower is a polyol, and it doesn't contain any other FODMAPs. So cauliflower would be a great option to try. And let's say cauliflower goes well. And let's say you eat that for a few days and you have no symptoms. Well, great. Maybe you can tolerate some FODMAPs that contain polyols in it. So if that's the case, then you want to choose another item in this category that only is in the polyols category. So that would be not apples, because that's also a monosaccharide. You could do apricot. You can do avocado as well, and blackberries. You want to do cherries, because that's also a monosaccharide. You can also do lychee. So again, you want to pick food items that are only in this category and then go down the list. So that's the idea of how you want to try to incorporate high FODMAPs into your diet. Now, once you go over all the polyols, then you can incorporate some of the ingredients or some of the foods that are in multiple categories. Then maybe you can go into cherries, because cherries are polyols and have polyols and monosaccharides. And if that goes well, let's say cherries go really well, then maybe the next category you can try to incorporate into your diet would be the monosaccharides, since the cherries went well. Same thing, apples, you can also go into this category as well. So that's a very basic explanation of how you can incorporate high FODMAP foods. So I highly recommend, if you've been on a low FODMAP diet for years and you've struggled with incorporating high FODMAP foods into your diet, try this method. And just know that the first time you try to incorporate these foods into your diet, you may have symptoms. And that's because your bacteria in your gut may be a little bit shocked, because it's been so used to the same foods all the time that it hasn't been used to knowing what to do when that new food item gets into your gut. So don't get discouraged if the first time you eat it, you're not doing so well. I highly recommend trying to take on that new food item for a few days, for different meals, just to see if really you can't tolerate it, or if it's just that one day and then it gets better after that. So like I said before, the low FODMAP diet is not a long-term solution. So I highly encourage trying to incorporate high FODMAP foods into your diet. That's the bottom line. Now, the reason why the low FODMAP diet is not a long-term solution is because the low FODMAP diet deepens dysbiosis. Dysbiosis is an imbalance in the good and bad bacteria or the microbes in the ecosystem or in the large intestine. So again, if you want to live well, if you want to have better energy levels, which is all dependent on your gut, or have less fatigue, if you want to have a stronger immune system, you really need to have a lot of different variety in your gut microbiome. And the only way that your gut microbiome can flourish and be healthy and optimal is if you're feeding your gut a variety of foods. So you never want to be on an elimination diet long term, never want to be in a low FODMAP diet long term. So I hope this was helpful and gave you some ideas or thoughts about, maybe I should incorporate more high FODMAP foods to my diet. So please comment if you have any questions, or if you like more videos on these gut topics, and I'd be happy to answer them. I will also link the colon massage video, which I highly recommend. This is great if you are struggling with SIBO or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. The abdominal massage is a great treatment technique you can do. So I will link it below and also above, so you can check that video out. Thank you so much for watching, and thanks for supporting my channel.